Jennifer McNeely. I am the assistant to Margaret Supperfield, who's opening a space here. And so I'm here sharing some information with you about what it's about and how it's going to go. Well, Margaret Supperfield is quite a force if you haven't heard of her. She's been around Seattle for a long time. I guess a lot of people would know her more through her legal practice, Supperfield Law. But a few years ago, after her inheritance came in, she decided she really wanted to follow her lifelong passion of supporting the arts and doing something tangible with it. So she contacted me, and we've been working together to open this space. I'm really just her assistant, though, really all the curatorial. I don't want to confuse that, that would upset her. Well, Margaret actually lives abroad half the year, so she's only here part-time. I'm really here sort of, I don't want to say in place of her again, I don't want to piss her off, but I'm here just, helping her realize her vision, because I've been in Seattle a long time and I know, some artists. I know Greg, so Greg and I talked and he thought this would be a good place to sort of have Margaret try out her space. Well, I don't know her that well, right? I was just, kind of taking a break from the art business, raising my kids in West Seattle, really out of the scene for a long time, And she contacted me kind of out of the blue. We knew, had a mutual friend, and she made it sound like it was this great opportunity to maybe dip my toe back in. And like, hey, Jennifer, do you want to do this? And I'll pay you, and, you're going to be in charge of everything and all that. And then I have not seen anybody. But I keep hearing promises, but I'll tell you that I guess the exposure is really good. Like the chance to, get my name out there is kind of what I guess I'm hoping for, and having some kind of an impact. This is a really great space. Yeah, so we have, Margaret has quite a few artists for the first show, and it's been quite the effort to get them wrangled in, honestly. But I think it's going to work out. I talked to an artist this morning whose name is Julia Chides. You may have heard of her. She's sort of big on the spoken word circuit, and I know she's finishing up her piece. So that's pretty exciting. There's another artist, Daryl Gascon, who's originally from France, and he's got a really interesting personal story. I know that he and Margaret had some dealings. I'm not exactly sure how she met him, but I know that she really believes in his work, and he's going to have some kind of a video piece. So sometimes I don't find out things until the last minute working with Margaret, but I still really like working with her. Like, she'll call me from being I don't even know where and be like, I met this guy, can you put his work up? And I'm like, I'm sorry, are we filming?
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry. No.
I have to do all the vetting of the artist that she finds. Let's just say that.
Oh.
And I don't even know how she's finding them. I would want to have some kind of curatorial title, because that's really what I'm doing, but I know that I'm not gonna, that's not gonna happen.
Is that you?
That's me.
Go get it.
Could be it. Oh, I don't. Let me call you, is this West Seattle Acupuncture? I think they already knew each other.
What,
I don't know.
why?
I don't know, I didn't ask. I've known Greg a long time, but we don't talk about stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm not even gonna guess. But I will just say this. There's several places that she travels that he travels. And neither one of them told me that. I'm sure if I went on Instagram, or someone else did, well, I hope it's wildly successful and that people really understand how much work is put into it, and that, I did the best I could. That's what I was given. I'm sure it'll be my fault. I'm sure it'll be my fault.
Sorry. I'm breaking.
So basically this is going to be a miniature museum, an art center, and all the artists that are involved are working with me to create a doll that is their avatar, and it's actually the doll that creates the artwork. and then the interactions between the dolls and the board of directors and all that will be documented on social media, and that will be like the second kind of layer. It's very meta. So, for example, my character is Margaret Supperfield, who is the curator, who recently came into some money and decided to just do this on a whim and doesn't really know what she's doing. And so we have a board of directors just loaded with all kinds of characters. And then the artists are also selecting sort of an alter ego with personality traits and addictions and things like that. That will go into play with the whole narrative. And then the other layer is that the actual museum is being designed by MBBJ because they designed this space. And so that's going to be a piece of art in itself. And it will be a permanent part of MOM and a rotating exhibit, probably a couple of years though. So initially, when Greg and I were talking about this a long time ago, we drew a little picture of a box and Greg was going to build it. And then I was like, this is what's so funny that Greg doesn't know is that I sent him a picture of this bald doll and I said, hey, this architect wants to build the building. But it was actually my husband. And Greg thought it was like an architect. And so he's like, actually, we should talk to all these architects. And then he called me or something, I can't remember how, and he said, oh, actually, this is an MBBJ building. I think this would be great. And of course, in true Greg style, he was like, had it all lined up. He knew all the people. So we went to a design meeting there and sort of pitched the idea. And then we opened it up to a competition and we get from MBBJ, and we get all the drawings back November 10th for the proposals. And then we'll pick one. And it will be basically an MBBJ building inside of an MBBJ building. And so that's really exciting. It's a really unexpected part of the project that just enables sort of more people to be creatively involved. It was really cool. It wasn't anticipated. Sorry, because I have a dollhouse who's called Mrs. Mouse's house. And Mrs. Mouse is a mouse, but she has children for some reason. And her daughter is an alcoholic who married this no good guy, Clarence. And so I usually just sort of document the happenings of the dollhouse. And then when people would ask me about it, I would be like, I don't know, that's Mrs. Mouse's deal. And so eventually I thought that'd be so cool if Mrs. Mouse had a museum. And I thought, what if I had a space where you could make miniature artwork? Because as a sculptor, one of my biggest problems is storage, and as having a lot of artist friends, I have way too much art to display. And I was like, what if you made miniature art? And then it could be like a collector thing, and you could just have them in a little thing because they're so small, and it'd be easy and portable. And the more I started thinking about it, I really love the idea of including the characters, like I had done in my own dollhouse. And so I was super excited because it's something I've been prepping for a long time, because I've been doing it like my whole life, making stories of inanimate objects and creating small things, and sort of this idea of living in an alternate reality where you can really express yourself. The things is with the dolls, I feel like for artists who, especially professional artists who have so much pressure and competitiveness to be, if you have a great show, you have to follow that up with a great show. If you're known for making glass, you have to make glass. You don't have this freedom to play any longer like we did when we were younger, or when you're in art school. There's no freedom usually. And so what I love about this is that the artist can become someone else. They're an alter ego, and they can explore a medium they haven't explored before. They can say things they wouldn't say. Nobody really even has to know who they are if they don't want them to. It really allows this element of play and fantasy that is sort of lacking sometimes in the art world. And it enables, like, even the architects, when we went to the meeting at MBBJ to talk about the building space, they were all so excited to think about something where they didn't have to think about codes or zoning, whatever the architects have to think about, like weight-bearing walls or whatever. And as an artist, you don't have to think about, you do have to think about if it's going to hang on the wall. And I did say that to people, like, it has to be like, I'm not going to be sticking pins in it, hopefully. It's got to have a hanger, it's got to be
the artwork.
It's got to be a legitimate piece of artwork, but it could be something you've never wanted to do. It could be something you've never wanted to say. It could be, I mean, it could be offensive, you know, if you want it to be offensive.